doing the filming. Hi there. And now we also have some guests from the Muslim community. Thank you very much for coming down. And we'd like to give you at least an hour. Now what we're doing is we're also passing cards out to the audience. We're Tea Party people, so we're non-hostile. We don't even litter. So people are writing down questions on the cards. But now, if you have no objections, I'd like to turn the floor over to our guests.
Jill, do you want to moderate, or?
Yeah, you want to set the table?
I just want to see, in the climate, like what Mark was talking about, with the building of the mosque in New York, there has certainly been a tension that has been created. And I know that there's a lot of misinformation that's come up on our forums a couple of times. Dan and I were talking about it. And Rem came to me and he said, Jill, he said, I know you have friends in the Muslim community. He said, do you think you could find somebody who'd be willing to come and talk to us about Islam? Because there really do seem to be some misunderstandings, misperceptions, that could right those misperceptions. And I said, yeah. I said, I think I could do that. So I did reach out and I found these lovely people who were gracious enough to be our guests. What we thought we would do, I know what happens is that as people start talking and thinking, questions pop up in your minds. And we're going to take the question and answer, of course, later. But I thought we would pass out index cards. So while they are talking, you can jot down a question that comes to mind on the spur of the moment. And what I'll be doing is I'll kind of be collecting them as we go along. If you need more than one card, take them. I'm not going to be censoring questions. I want you to understand that. It's just to give you the opportunity to ask when it is fresh in your mind. So we're going to be passing them around for if you need a pen. What I have plenty
Does
of
anyone need any
teacher,
more
plenty of
cards
books.
or pens or anything like that?
What I will also do is go through them to put duplicate questions together to make sure we get, because that will indicate, wow, there's really what we want to make sure we get to this question. As we exhaust questions, then we'll just, we'll go to the audience and whatnot.
So should we give the questions to you, Jill?
Yeah, I'm just going to kind of like float and, just kind of pass it
So
down, that kind of thing.
I'll walk around and grab the questions.
Oh, absolutely. But anyway, that was the origins of our panel. These are some very, very dear people who are our guests this evening. I want to give them a chance to introduce themselves.
At first, I really would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about Islam, which is my religion. I was contacted by Jill, or actually through a third party, and had a short time interaction with Jill, open-minded and interest in learning about other culture and other people. So again, thank you for being here, and I second would like to thank my friends around here that decided to join me once I accepted the invitation from Jill. The way we're going to organize today, we'll have everyone on the panel speak for maybe 10 minutes or 7 minutes, something like that, and that hopefully is going to address some of the questions in your mind. But then we'll have it will be open for questions after that. Thank you. We're going to organize the agenda with, as I mentioned earlier, with just a small sharing of information with you from every member of the panel. So I'll start with description of what's Islam and the pillars of Islam, just a very high-level basic information. I'll be followed by Jinan with a small discussion on culture diversity in Islam. And Muhammad will go with description with who are the Muslims around the world, where do they come from, and then we'll conclude with an overall or a capping presentation or recap of what he said by Murad, where he's going to discuss various concepts of Islam. So let's just go ahead and hopefully we'll be okay with the time. Janae, where are you? Jill, you tell me when the time. Okay. So So what is Islam? I think it probably would be a question in everybody's mind. And I'm going to start by sharing what do Muslims believe. Muslims believe in one God. They believe in the day of judgment, and they believe in individual accountability of action. Every person is responsible for their action. The God that the Muslims believe and worship is the same God that Christians and Jews believe and worship. The Arabic word for God is Allah. So quite frequently you hear people say Muslims worship Allah, or you find Muslims saying Allahu Akbar. Well, Allah is the Arabic word for God. The other belief that Muslims, the other concept that Muslims believe in is the succession of prophets. There is a succession of prophets that came as messengers from God, reinstating the same message. And they believe in all of them as carriers of God's message and as prophets for real religion. And they start from Adam. They believe in Adam, in Noah, in Jacob, in Abraham, Ismail, Isaac, David, Jesus, Moses, and Jesus. In order to be a Muslim, you have to believe in all these prophets. They also believe that Muhammad came reinstating, reaffirming the same message and finalizing the message from God. And the basic principles that Muslims go around are really very similar to the message that was given by Abraham. And they are, you can summarize them in 2 points. The first one is to love God. There is only one God, and you love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, with all your will. Just pure dedication to loving God. And the other principle is to love our neighbors. And neighbors in that context is defined as all the human race, regardless of their race, religion, culture, background. You love your neighbor, you love members of the human race just like you love yourself. Actually, they emphasize that you love them just like you love yourself, as opposed you love your brother, because sometimes we even love ourselves more. So you love the members of the human race, irrespective of where they are from, just you love yourself. These are pretty much the 2 principles that Islam surrounds itself around. So the next concept, or the next idea, is Quran. What's Quran? Quran is the holy book that Muslims, Quran is the Muslims' holy book. And it is God's message that was revealed to Muhammad. Quran to Muslims, exactly the same place as Torah or the Bible to the Jewish faith or the Christian faith. It is written in the most elegant and the most sophisticated classic Arabic language. When you listen to it, if you know how to speak Arabic, it is like listening to poetry. Actually, it was revealed to Muhammad as a message from God through one of the angels, Gabriel. And the important thing that Muslims give their pride on is that they had the system to preserve the text as it was revealed to Muhammad. So the book of the Quran is exactly the same text that was revealed at the time. And Muhammad will get the revelation and would recite it to his companions. Then I'm going to go a little bit into the origin of Islam. In order to do that, I want to go in the history a little bit far, very, very far. I'm going to go all the way back to Abraham. And Muslims, Jews, or Christians have very common root, and the root starts from Abraham. Just a reminder of the story of Abraham, and it's very similar to the story that is written in the Old Testament. And Abraham had 2 sons, Isaac and Ishmael. And Isaac had another son, Jacob, that afterward was called Israel, who had 12 sons, who are the 12 tribes of Israel. And you know very well the story after that. They moved to Egypt, and then they had all the troubles there, and Moses guided them out of Egypt, and they settled in what's now Palestine and Israel land. And then Jesus came, and you know the rest of the story of the Isaac part of the family, if you will. The other part of the family is Ishmael, who happened to be from another mother, wife of Abraham, and they moved to Saudi Arabia. They moved to Mecca, and in there, that's where they settled. Abraham would go occasionally to visit his son. When they were old enough, they actually built the first temple, and which happened to be the Kaaba. Some of you might know about the Kaaba and Mecca. And these two places and that specific temple has a very important meaning, and they are considered holy places for the Muslim religion. But the important thing is that Abraham raised his two sons with the same two messages I mentioned before, which are you love God, there's only one God, and worship God, and you love your fellow human the way you love yourself. We Muslims believe that in order to maintain the faith, there is a succession of prophets that come back and reiterate the same message over and over again for human to guide human race to stop violating that message. And that is the sequence of the succession of messengers or prophets that came, which I mentioned earlier, and they include Moses, and they include, of course, Jesus, and they include Muhammad. So that is the basic principle of the story of how Islam started. And that's why every Muslim, in order to be a Muslim, you have to believe in the Old Testament, you have to believe in Christianity, you have to believe in Judaism.